Thank you, Juan. One of the great things about Juan is you come up with some wacko request and he makes it happen. That's great. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. My name is Sam Bashirs. I am chair of the transition team during our time of interim ministry here at UUCUC. I'm delighted to be here with you streaming live from our sanctuary this morning. We ask that everyone remain masked in church and distanced as you are comfortable. Please look around and be aware and respectful of others' needs and boundaries. Know that in whatever form you find us today, whether you're here with me in the sanctuary, watching live from home, or tuning into the recording later on, this service is here for you. Welcome. There is still time to make your own contributions to our shared joys and sorrows, which happen later in the service. To do that, just email your message to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. Or if you're here in person, there are note cards for handwritten joys and sorrows, which will be collected before they are actually read. Today's service comes from Reverend KB and the transition team. KB, Jim Hannum, Kiri Fagan-Olmschneider, Carla Peterson, Kathleen Robbins, and Ann Newman will all have their turns here at the podium. This congregation also chooses to begin every Sunday with a formal acknowledgement of the indigenous nations of this land. This is a practice that connects us to the history of this place and to our own responsibilities as stewards and members of a wider community. Here on Green Street, we worship on the land of the Kickapoo, the Peoria, the Miami, and the Sioux. These peoples still exist today and are committed to a continued struggle for survival and self-determination. Wherever you are this morning, I invite you now to take a breath and consider the history and peoples of the land you are resting on. May we always remember where we are, the sacredness of this place, and the many people and peoples who have belonged to it. Now, Kathleen Robbins will lead us in a covenant of togetherness.
Thank you, Sam. Would you join me in our covenant of togetherness from the RE teachers of the UUCUC? With hope for a bright future, we come and trust. With love in our hearts for all our creation, we come in humility. Seeking justice for all, marginalizing none, we come in open-mindedness. With courage, we come willing to be transformed. With great joy, we come together to do what we cannot do alone. And now our chalice lighting, Carrie will do what I can't do with my shaky hand. I'll light that. And William Bridges. All changes, even those most longed for, have their melancholy, for what we leave behind is not ours. We must die to one life before we enter into another. Now stand and join us in singing hymn number 1017 in the Teal Hymn, Building a New Way. MR. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
we can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. We can feed every need. Peace and freedom, is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these words we'll die. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Ann Newman has a time for all ages.
Good morning. My name is Ann Newman, and I'm bringing you a puppet tale today. I'm sharing with you the caterpillar and the pollywog, and you do not have to sit on the floor to be able to see it, because it'll be up here. You know, caterpillars aren't like other folks. When ducks and hippopotamuses and you and I grow older, we get bigger, but not caterpillars. They turn into butterflies, right? Well, that's not something just anybody can do. This is a story by Jack Kent. Down by the pond, there lived a caterpillar who was very proud of being different. She bragged about it to her friends. When I grow up, she told the snail, I'm going to turn into something else. That's nice, said the snail, who really didn't care one way or the other. When I grow up, I'm going to turn into something else, she told the turtle. I don't blame you, said the turtle. Yeah, he didn't much like wiggly things. When I grow up, she told the pollywog in the pond, I'm going to turn into something else. What fun, said the pollywog. What are you going to turn into? But the caterpillar hurried on her way, looking for someone else to tell her secrets to. I wish I could turn into something else. You will, said the fish. Yeah, what am I going to turn into? But the fish was already chasing after a tasty bug. When I grow up, said the caterpillar, who'd gone round the pond and was coming round for a second try, I'm going to turn into something else. So am I. You? The caterpillar was so surprised she almost fell into the pond. But I thought only caterpillars could do it. The fish said so. Fish go to school. They're very smart. Oh. Well, I really did think only caterpillars could do it. Say, what are we going to turn into? The pollywog asked. Well, I'm going to turn into a butterfly. Then I guess I will too, said the pollywog. What fun, he said happily. Let's do it together. Oh, all right, the caterpillar agreed, but I want to go first. Well, the pollywog didn't mind. He wasn't really sure how to go about it. I'll watch you, said the pollywog. So when the time came, the caterpillar started to spin a cocoon. This is the tricky part, she said. The pollywog watched as the caterpillar spun. Soon only her head was uncovered. Now I have to close the lid, she said. And when I come out, I'll be a butterfly. Go ahead, the pollywog said excitedly. I want to see you do it. Well, it'll take a while, the caterpillar warned. She started spinning again and was soon out of sight inside the cocoon. For a very long time, nothing happened. But the pollywog was patient. He watched and watched and watched and waited and waited and waited. And eventually, the caterpillar crawled out. Only she wasn't a caterpillar. She was a beautiful, colorful butterfly. The pollywog was so excited, he hopped up and down with delight. He hopped like a frog. I was so busy watching you, I didn't notice what was happening to me. Oh, you're a very handsome frog, said the butterfly as she flew off to try her new wings. Oh, but the frog was puzzled. I thought I was going to be a butterfly. By and by, a caterpillar wiggled by. When I grow up, I'm going to turn into something else, he said proudly. But the frog wasn't listening. He was admiring his reflection in the water. I am, you know, a very handsome frog.
Okay, now it's time for any children here to go to their classrooms and let us sing hymn 414 to sing them out as we leave this friendly place. As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. This which we learn, light our hearts till we return. Do you want to introduce yourself? Okay. Well, KB's going to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Rep KB, and it's really wonderful to see you all this morning. And whether you're with us in person or online, wherever you are on life's journey, we're so glad you're with us, and you're so welcome here. We really mean it. And Anne, thank you for that. That was magical. Being a human being is a challenge. I don't have to tell you that. And so we're at that time in our service where we take a breath and we pause and think about our lives, how we're doing, what our needs are, and also those of our wider community and the wider world with its struggle and pains, including all those things that walk, crawl, swim, or fly, or grow out of the ground. In a moment, you'll be invited to share your joys and sorrows. Those who feel so led, you can find a card on the back of the pew in front of you, or if you're at home, or you can do this here in the sanctuary. Just send an email into joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. And if, for those who would like to share, and I will read it aloud after we have our song, Longtime Son. And so visitors, you'll see us singing along with us, and you're welcome to join us. And there will be those that are too tender maybe to be shared aloud, And we invite you to hold those close in your hearts, and we'll have a word about that in a minute. So let us come together with longtime son as we share our joys and sorrows. Let us nudge the inner workings of our minds to calm and seek a peaceful place within. We might soften our gaze or close our eyes, slow our breathing, and become aware that we are alive in this moment of life. Allow ourselves go deeper, for you and I are so joined together in so many ways. We are part of each other, and we need each other. Whether you are here in this church building or at home, online, wherever you are, I invite you to imagine the burdens of your hearts lifted and held by our community and this web of life that is so sacred and strong and pervasive and loving. The ground of all being, that beyond which there is no other, however we formulate that for ourselves. In a moment, I will read our joys and sorrows shared, and if you wish, you may share joy, spirit fingers in the you way, or hands over your heart as we receive these together. From Alice, finally found community and active social life, but still struggling to love myself and have light in my inner world. From Jim Hanauer, a joy that Sandy's cardiac surgery on Thursday went well and she has recovered quickly. And let's just switch over. Let me double check that I've got this right, but that was Jim Hannum. I said Jim Hanauer. That's Chris Hanauer. But we have a birthday in the house today, folks. Happy birthday from Sandy and all of us to our own speaker today, Jim Hannum. Sandy said, the love of my life and my soulmate. I am so lucky to be sharing my life with you. Happy birthday, Jim. You are a joy to all, and that's a fact. And a joy from the Gross family, from David Gross. Yesterday, the downsizing open house giveaway event at the home of David and Claudia Gross was a tremendous success. Visitors, they're moving from the family home to Clark Lindsay, and they are inviting us to bring into our homes a piece of their home as in that effort. So you know what we're talking about. There will be a second cycle, so everyone listen up. But that date is not yet firm. Yesterday, all prices were $0. Next time, the prices will be 50% off from $0. My friends, I invite you to also pause and together let us take a moment to remember the wider world and the globe of which we are an integral part. All those places of war, of bloodshed, all those places within the homes around the world where there is strife, unrest, abuse of any kind. We pray for healing on every level in our humanity and in life on earth. May it be so. Now together, let us send our healing wishes to wrap around those shared and the joys that we lift up in celebration. These and all other joys and sorrows and hopes and prayers held deep in our hearts, those not spoken aloud, as we lift up into the love that connects and sustains us. Please take these next moments to meditate, to pray, or simply breathe and rest during this music for meditation.
This reading is from the book In the Interim, which is all about stories of interim ministry. Interim ministry is a gift to Unitarian Universalism and to each congregation that experiences skillful ministry in the time between settled ministers. It is a gift to Unitarian Universalism because it affords congregations an opportunity to strengthen their connections to the broader faith. It is a gift to individual congregations because it gives them an opportunity to rediscover, to reinterpret, to reclaim, and to reimagine their own vision of what constitutes contemporary Unitarian Universalism in their community, and ultimately to recommit to it. It is a gift to individual Unitarian Universalists because belonging to a revitalized congregation offers individuals so many more opportunities to learn about life, to deepen their own spirituality, to advance progressive values, and to serve others, both in the congregation and beyond its doors.
Thank you, Carrie. We, as Unitarian Universalists, acknowledge that our circle of care doesn't stop at our church doors. We are deeply connected to the community we find ourselves in and to the wider world. Please continue to keep an eye on your e-news weekly newsletter for opportunities to show up, find support, get involved, and be part of this community. Each Sunday, in recognition of our very real interdependence, and reliance on each other, we pass the plate and share our offering with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. For the month of October, we are sharing our plate with the Trauma and Resilience Initiative, nonprofit organization and community of individuals who are working to help make Champaign County a trauma and justice-informed community where everyone has the right to be, become, and belong. More information is available on their website. You can give by text or through the online portal on our website, or if you are here in the sanctuary, the basket will be passed and checks can be made out to Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign with the memo line indicating that it should be in today's shared plate. We invite you to give whatever is generous for you and know that anything you contribute will be gratefully received, and to put to use helping make a real impact for people who need it. The offering will now be taken, and we will hear turn, turn, turn.
So the offering will be given just a tiny bit differently music-wise. I'm going to start, and then I've asked some volunteers to join me, and as you remember the words to turn, 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 you are invited to join as well. To everything turn, 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 there is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away the stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate. A time of love, a time of hate. A time of war, a time of peace. A time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, 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 and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to sow, a time to love, a time to hate, a time to hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn.
Thank you for your generosity expressed in this in so many ways. Our message will now be given by Jim Hannum.
My name is Jim Hannum, and I just rewrote the talk I'm going to give based on Ann Newman's puppet show. So here's some imaginary history of the British monarchy. For years, Prince Charles went to bed night after night saying, "When I grow up, I'm going to be different." And no one thought it was actually ever going to happen. But one night, his mother died, and Prince Charles woke up, and poof, he was a butterfly, he was a king. And that happened in one instant, one overnight instant. In contrast to the way Prince Charles became King Charles, when our new president is elected, they don't start being president the day on the election or the day after the election. We have an interim period of 2.5 months where the president selects the cabinet, they appoint people to fill key roles, they plan their legislation, and they plan to govern. They take steps to govern. We, the people, in parallel time frame, get a time to get used to the newly elected president, either celebrating his or her election or grieving our loss if it's not the candidate we wanted. And we look forward to the changes the new administration plan to make. An interim ministry for a church like ours functions in much the same way. When Reverend Florence became ill and started medical leave, Reverend KB was hired to take over her ministerial tasks. Then, when Reverend Florence resigned as her medical condition failed to improve, Reverend KB officially switched from being a backup lead minister to an official interim minister. Reverend KB didn't actually magically morph into a different person, but she did become a butterfly. The nature of her job changed. Instead of keeping on the ministry of Reverend Florence and the ministry of Reverend Sally, her job became more of an internal observer, a reviewer, and an experimenter in the ways we function as a church. The interim ministry is not for the faint of heart or for those who lack courage. It is an active transition period to allow the church and the leadership of the church to reflect on where we have been, what we do well, what goals we have for our future, and what we wish to improve. The interim ministry is an opportunity to do a positive audit. What do we most value about our community? Are we living up to these values? If not, what can we do to improve? Reverend Keith Crone, the co-author of the book In the Interim that Kiri referred to earlier, writes, "Interim ministry is hard, transformative work. It is a time to explore the cultural geography of the church, to do some really cool experiments, and to get ready to make the next ministry a success. But the congregation will have to listen to some things they don't want to hear along the way." Okay, cool experiments? That sounds kind of cool. Maybe even fun. You might have already noticed a few of these experiments in the Sunday services and in the RE program. Getting ready to make the next ministry a success? Well, that definitely sounds like a good idea too. But that last thing, what might it mean to have to listen to some things the congregation doesn't want to hear? That's a bit tougher. For better or worse, all organizations, including this church, develop semi-stable patterns of functioning over time, kind of a relational and organizational homeostasis. The church culture shapes the minister we choose, and the minister we choose in turn shapes our church culture. We learn how to work together, but over time, the ways we work together recede from view, become a largely invisible set of rules, roles, and expectations. What happens when our minister leaves? Well, the church culture will keep chugging along, and we may unconsciously start searching for a minister just like the one that left. We'll be looking for Reverend Florence 2 rather than a new person. Or if we're dissatisfied with our current church culture, we may start looking for a fire-breathing minister who will blow things up. Neither of these is very good. These invisible expectations are at best a burden for a new minister and can be a recipe for stress for all of us. But let me give you a humorous example. Years ago, I attended a training workshop by a well-known psychotherapist named Dr. Irv Yalom, and he told this story. When he was newly married, he raved to his wife about the pot roast his mother used to make. That probably would have been a bad thing to do in the UU church. But anyway, his wife asked him to get his mother's recipe. And so he did. His mother said, buy a 4-pound pot roast, cut the end off it, sear it, bake it in the oven at these degrees and for this amount of time. Well, his wife looked at the recipe and said, this seems fine, but why do you cut the end off the pot roast? Yalom said, I don't know. That's what my mother said. So he called his mother up. Mom, when you make the pot roast, why do you cut the end off? And his mom said, I don't know. That's how Grandma used to do it. But Grandma happened to still be alive, so they called Grandma up and said, Grandma, why do you cut the end off the pot roast? She said, my oven was too small. I couldn't put the whole roast in. So, in what ways are we cutting the end off the pot roast, even though our oven's big enough to fit the whole damn thing in? Now, some ways of doing things were adaptive at the time, but lost their adaptiveness over time, but we may not notice when the changes need to occur. A new minister will bring very different skills, very different personality and ways of being to our congregation. To create space for this new person, we need to actively observe and acknowledge the rules we have adopted and the expectations we have created. As I said earlier, some of these rules may be very functional and we want to keep them, but others may be out of date, arthritic, sclerotic, or to translate this into the pot roast metaphor, a new minister may come with his or her own pot roast recipe and damn well doesn't want ours. Or maybe they like a vegetarian meal instead. Herein lies one of the great advantages of an interim minister and the interim ministry period. Reverend KB, coming into our church from outside, can see our system, what we do, what we say, how we work. She sees it with eyes that aren't the same eyes that we see it with. She knows to ask questions about what we do. Why do we do it? Why do we do it that way? Have we considered there are other ways to reach these same goals? She can ask questions that most of us have forgotten need to be asked. Reverend KB is assisted in this creative task by the group of advisors you see on the sanctuary stage today, the transition team. There are 6 of us, and we're all part of the service today. We don't work alone, however. We're building on the good work of 2 key other church committees. The strategic planning group is one of them. They're doing some remarkable work articulating our aspirations as a congregation. You may see the signs that are in Fellowship Hall of 9 areas that these are organized around. But you probably recognize that we don't meet all those aspirations. There are goals to be reached, and we fall short in different ways. Where do we fall short? Maybe some of you already know. Why do we fall short? That might be a little harder question to parse, but it's an important one, and I think we should all try to answer that. We need to consider where we've fallen short of our aspirations so that a new minister we bring in isn't burdened with the task of getting us to places we couldn't get to ourselves. Another active group in the church that we're working with is the ministerial search team. They have organized a congregational survey that many of you already completed. They're holding cottage meetings that some of you have already attended, and they're going to create a portrait of our church to share with the prospective ministerial candidates. Our team are attending these cottage meetings and want to review the survey results to get an idea of the concerns you all have about bringing in a new minister. So in these next 9+ months, a key task of Reverend KB and the rest of the transition team is examining our church culture to create space for this new minister and to make his or her ministry a success. We are going to make some plans and do some experiments around the concerns we hear from you. And let me point out, we already recognize one big concern. Our relationship and sense of community has been strained and greatly frayed over the 2+ years of the pandemic shutdown. So we'll be looking for ways to renew our connections and to work together better. And I must say, I am so delighted to be able to be in a service and see all of your faces, even if you're behind those masks. We expect to be offering some Sunday services, organizing experiences where we can share ideas and hopes, and continue the process of getting to know one another better. We're not going to ask for a great deal of your time and energy. We do, however, hope you will share your opinions and make your voices heard. So let me end by a poetic phrasing of our work. Imagine the transition team is a group of worthy warriors and spiritual partners of Reverend KB, who is actually our chief wizard. And we're on a courageous quest. We plan to seek out the dark caves, the hidden dragons of our church mountain. We want to find the ring of power before it falls into the wrong hands. And we want to make the world safer for all of us, especially our new minister. Thank you.
We'll now have our closing hymn. This is 1020 in the teal hymnal. It's called Woyaya, and I believe this is new to most of us. It looks a little complicated, but I think you'll catch on quickly, and we go through it twice, so even if we mess up the first time, I think we'll get it the second time, and we'll be led by MR. If we follow them, I think we'll be fine.
During the worship team meeting this past week, we talked about what does this word mean? Well, yeah, like is it something? And when I Google searched it, I just found that it was an African scat syllable, meaning we are going. And so we're going to say that a couple of times. It comes from Ghana and was frequently heard in work camps throughout Central West Africa. So here we go. Well, yeah.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know it, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, 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 yeah.
Transitional ministry is most effective when a full spectrum of the congregation engages in challenging questions that inspire us to find new ways of living our faith in our shared religious community together. Kathleen and Kiri.
Please join Carrie and I in our chalice of distinguishing words. Enjoy every moment of the journey and appreciate where you are at this moment, instead of always focusing on how far we have to go. None of us have arrived. Carrie?
And then we have one really quick announcement. Today is our monthly book and magazine exchange, so stop by the table in Fellowship Hall and take home a book or magazine that interests you.